And I was like, thank
Mm.
fucking God, because I am losing my goddamn mind. And she's like, had you come to me at the beginning of this progression, I would have told you to go get a job working for somebody else. This is not the energy of like being a self starter,
Really?
self motivated, running your own business.
You're listening to Parts and Charts. I'm Chelsea Owens, a therapist certified in internal family systems, and my co-host, KP Kajabowski, is an astrologer. We're testing the theory that IFS and astrology are mapping the same inner territory. Every episode, we put that to the test. Glad you're here.
Well, first, just thank you so much for having me, especially since I'm kind of breaking the mold from your usual guests. Though I am appreciate astrology, I'm by no means an astrologer. And I'm also not trained in IFS, but I'm currently in IFS therapy myself. And I do really enjoy that modality. So I'm
Yeah.
happy to be on here and talk about maybe something a little bit different than what you've normally been covering. And I'm also really excited to like hear your feedback on my chart because like I said, I appreciate astrology. So like selfishly, I'm just like, oh my God, what do you have to tell me? This is gonna be so fun. um but yeah, in terms of my story, so funnily enough, when I did start coaching therapists to help them building their private practices, I wasn't actually thinking I was going to exit being a therapist. Let me be clear. I am still a therapist. I'm still a
Yeah.
licensed therapist, but I'm very protective over that. Sometimes people are like, well, you're not really a therapist. I'm like, you bet your sweet ass I am. Like I am,
I am paying
I
my
am,
dues.
I am paying my dues. I'm renewing my license. Like, so
Yeah.
I am still a therapist, but I'm not currently doing clinical work. And right now, the way I earn my living is through coaching other therapists who are in private practice and wanting to grow and expand and scale, make more money, enjoy their lives, have more freedom. So that's the work that I do. And I wasn't initially thinking that I would stop doing therapy because I had my own private practice. But
Mhm.
something really interesting was happening in, I would say, 2021, which was the first year that I ran my signature program, Liberated Business.
Yeah.
And I remember like the feeling of really, I don't know, like encouraging and advocating for my clients to do the things they wanted to do that were deeply uncomfortable. And by that
Mhm.
time, I had started to get like more and more coaching clients. Like I was still a therapist in private practice. I still was probably making the majority of my income from therapy, but I was
Mhm.
starting to get more traction as a business coach. And I was hearing myself hear my clients say all the things that they wanted and then kind of challenging them to go for it. And I was feeling this shift in myself of, well, I'm really enjoying this different form of work.
Mm.
I'm having a lot of fun. It feels really different than what I'd been doing as a therapist. And I'd like to do more of it, but it feels really scary because I don't know if I'm going to succeed. Like so far, it's mostly been my friends like Chelsea. It's been
Mhm.
local Bay Area people.
Yeah.
And at that point, I had gone online and was starting to market myself online. So I was getting some people who were, not my friends starting out. They were strangers and then became clients. But I didn't really know if I could do it on a big scale. But I just like kept on feeling that tension of like, okay, so I'm telling these people, I'm encouraging them, but then I'm not fully doing the thing that I really,
Yeah.
really want to do.
Yeah.
And so it was in like spring of 2021 that I was like, fuck it. I'm going to stop seeing therapy clients and just do coaching because I
Mhm.
recognized that getting a business off the ground requires tons and tons of energy, not just in terms of like the nitty gritty of what you have to do, but like emotionally, spiritually, it
Mhm.
requires a lot of energy. It's like one of the most activating things you can do. Like I've been through a lot in my life. Running a business is a lot because you choose to do it, you know what I mean? There's always that
Right.
like, I was born into the family I was born into, but I chose to start this business. And so, like, it's on me. Like, I'm the one
Yeah.
choosing the hard thing. So it's like, if I'm gonna do this again, do I wanna be splitting my time and my energy between, like, maintaining my therapy practice and growing that business and doing this? Or do I just wanna go all in on coaching and kind of take that risk? And so
Mhm.
I did, and yeah, so that's kind of the origin story of how I got into it. Or I guess like
Yeah.
maybe not the origin story of how I got into it, but what was happening when I made the
Uh,
decision to go all in on coaching.
yeah. And I I remember too around that time, it also just seemed like you were kind of at this point with, like, not just the therapy work, but how we show up as therapists that felt limiting. Is that right? Like, I remember you
Yeah.
even kind of joking around, and I could totally relate to this too, that you were like, "You know, I kinda wanna tell people what to do." And, like, and in therapy, you can't
Yeah,
really do
you're
that.
not really supposed to do that. Like, you can do psychoeducation and you can, like,
Yeah,
share possibilities, but you're not really
yeah,
supposed to coach in therapy, and
yeah.
I really like I'm a big rule follower. I'm a Virgo. I love rules and I wanna do it right, and so I really did take seriously
Yeah.
this idea that therapy is very process oriented. It doesn't mean that therapists
Mhm.
can't share their clinical opinions. It
Right.
doesn't mean that we can't do homework or take
Mhm.
action. Obviously, we want our clients to change in the ways they want to change, but it's really meant to be directed by them, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
but I also really enjoy teaching and I
Yeah,
like being able to share what I've learned with people who want to learn from me. And
yeah.
coaching just felt like a place where I could do that um, without feeling like I was breaking the rules, you know? And people
Totally.
like
Yeah.
you were showing up. I was having friends showing up who were wanting to start their own private practices or grow their own private practices, and
Mhm.
you all were asking me questions about how I did things in my private practice,
Mhm.
and I wanted to just tell you and tell
Yeah.
you how you could do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
coaching was feeling like there were less restraints, and I had already been in the community mental health and mental health world for many, many years at that point because I
Mhm.
started working in nonprofits when I was still in my undergrad.
Yeah.
And between graduate school and undergrad, I worked in the field for several years. So I wasn't, when I, even though my private practice wasn't very old, my experience as a clinician and my experience as a person working in the mental health field was pretty old considering my
Mm.
age. And so
Yeah.
I had been doing that for a while, and I was also just ready for something new and something different.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, and I love that you named it liberated business too, because it's like what you were just describing was, you're seeing all the clients that came through liberating themselves and, like, seeing all these opportunities and going for it, and, like, and then just kind of noticing that in yourself too, and, like, applying that to your own business practices and what you were choosing to do and just, yeah, jumping all in too. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
So I kind of just I want to like jump in and I'm just so
Jump
curious
in.
in your experience as a coach for therapists, people who are we can assume like really well aware of what their parts are doing or what their responses are to things. What shows up in business that blocks people or keeps them from showing up, that kind of stuff and how do you coach
Mm,
people through that?
oh, that's a
Mm.
really good question. Um, Yeah, one of the places where people can get really hung up is around visibility and wanting to do it right. Like one of the funny things a lot of therapists will do is they will just like take forever to publish a website because they're like, it needs, oh my
Yeah.
God, wait, I'm flashing back to your website, Chelsea, right now. And
Yeah.
we worked on that, which I don't
Totally.
think you took forever. Like you
Yeah.
actually didn't do this, which was amazing. But
Yeah.
so many
It was a
people
fun part. Yeah.
it was really fun. I remember you were like,
Yeah.
what was it? Sexy cowboy witch or something was
Yes!
like the vibe that we were going for. And I was like, you nailed
Yes!
it. Like,
I remember being like, I wanna make it as weird as possible because I want
yeah,
people to look at my website and be like, "That's the vibe I'm looking for."
yeah.
And I do
And I
you feel like
remember when you
people,
started
like
getting clients reaching out to
Yeah.
you who like, I'm having this is so weird because I haven't thought about this in so long and my memory is trash. But I'm remembering like you getting a client who reached out and they like were so your ideal client and how exciting that
Yes.
was because I think they
Yeah.
were like Saturn returns
Yeah.
age.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that
Yeah.
was so fun.
Right? And it was so helpful to hear your feedback in that and just, yeah, kind of be, like, as freaky as you wanna be, and I
Yeah,
wonder too if there's still a lot of therapists just playing it really safe with their copy or with their websites and, like,
yeah.
or not knowing how to make it, like, more niche or yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, so yes, all of that is true. And there's just a lot of perfectionism. There's a lot of fear that
Yeah.
we're going to do something that would somehow get us in trouble, that like other therapists would
Totally.
see what we're doing and then have something to say about it, that our
Mhm.
ethics would get challenged, that we would get
Totally.
reported, that someone would be offended. Like,
Mhm.
so The thing about therapy is like it's very intimate, right? It's you and your client, just you, or maybe it's a couple, maybe it's a family,
Mhm.
whatever, but it's just the therapist and it's that client or clients. And any disruption that happens usually just gets to happen in that very private place. And
Yeah.
so as a therapist, like that's what we're trained to do, is to be really good in those scenarios. But then when you're trying to grow a business, it's like the exact opposite of that. You have to go
Mhm.
out into a public space and like say
Mhm.
something. And you
Mhm.
you don't have the ability to dial it into that specific person. You don't have the ability to get their response and then like respond to that clinically in this like very nuanced
Mhm.
bespoke way. You've got to put a post on Instagram, or you've got to publish website on the internet where like literally anyone with an internet connection can see it. And so I think that's really frightening for therapists, and it's so different than the work we've been trained to do. And so I think
Yeah. Totally.
therapists have a
Mhm.
lot of misgivings around marketing in general and feel like they shouldn't have to do it, which is exactly how
Mhm.
I felt in my therapy practice. I thought, well, I'm a good therapist. And not only that, but I've actually been working in the field since I was, I don't know, 20 or whatever it was. So I had a chip on my shoulder about like how experienced I
Yeah.
was and how good I was. And I was good. I'm a good therapist. And
Yeah.
I thought that that should be enough. And now, from having run two businesses, um, I think that's hilarious. Why the hell should someone trust me or think I'm good
Mhm.
at my job? Like, that's
Mhm.
insane. I'm over here with
Mhm.
all my life experience, all my clinical experience, being like, you should just think I'm great. And it's like, why that? Why?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. That was kind of like the vibe of the like 2020, like 2021 kind of boom of
oh my
coaching and
God,
just
yeah.
like I don't know, even therapists too, like everyone kind of showing up on the internet and putting out this kind of image and like message of like you should just pay me $100,000, like even though you don't know who I am, or like
Right.
I'm making these like big promises to like help people change their lives. And yeah, that was of that time too,
That
right?
was
Where
a
it just
seller's
felt
market.
yeah, it really it really was.
It was a seller's market
It really
back in
was. Yeah.
2020, 2021. So, good and bad things about that. Good things about that were it broke the cherry. I don't want to say that. Popped the cherry. I remember at the very beginning of the pandemic, just like talking to some colleagues, and there was this like intense fear about going online. And I already was doing teletherapy at that point. So like
Mhm.
I wasn't freaked out by it. I'm like, yes, it's still therapy still works via a
Mhm.
screen. It can still
Mhm.
happen. But I think there was such a huge shift in opportunity. Therapists had to go online, obviously with their work, but then also it created, I don't know, just this huge shift where we were starting to see more therapists online, and people had money and time for it, and there was huge
Yeah.
amounts of demand because people were
Yeah.
suffering. And so it was kind of like this
Mm.
perfect storm for a lot of
Yeah.
people who probably wouldn't have made the shift into private practice or wouldn't
Yeah.
have charged premium fees to suddenly
Yeah.
say like, "Oh, maybe I can." And I think in
Mhm.
general that's a good thing. I think like my perspective isn't that I don't know, like you're worth or a certain fee or not. Sometimes you'll hear this language around charging what you're
Yeah.
worth, and I really
Yeah.
don't like that because like how would
Yeah.
you be worth this? Does that mean other people aren't worth getting paid this? It just
Right.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think it created the ability for therapists to charge what they needed to charge or what they wanted
Right.
to charge. But then eventually we saw this market correction happen where it flipped. And this happened in about like 2023
Yeah.
approximately.
Yeah.
2022, 2023, we saw the flip from a seller's market back to a buyer's market.
Yeah.
And all those people who didn't really, who were more like opportunistic, but didn't build like the business to actually maintain uh,
Mhm.
filling a private practice, they didn't build the engines that would create that demand. They started falling by the wayside. And so,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, as a business owner and having spent years like growing these businesses, I really do think that part of our work is to get out in the world and not prove ourselves, but give people a good reason to hire us. You know, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't I
Mhm.
don't just deserve attention or deserve
Yeah.
money or deserve clients.
Yeah.
People work hard for their money. they're entitled to be
Mm.
discerning about how they're going to spend it. And so my job is not just to be good at what I do, it's to go out in the world and help people
Mhm.
see, even before they
Mhm.
spend money with me, that I'm good at what I do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it seems like you've really dialed in your marketing in that way or, like, found what works for you and what feels good. Is that right? Like, in the last couple
Yeah.
years? Yeah.
In the last couple years, there was a really big shift, and this is what we were talking
Mm.
about a little bit before we pressed record, right? Is like I have found okay, so prior to 2023, my main way of marketing was through social media. So I was on Instagram and on Facebook, and I would do these like free live courses. And in order for people to be able to attend those free live courses, they just needed to like sign up via a landing page and give me their email.
Yeah.
And then they needed to join this free Facebook group where I would do that live course.
Mhm.
And these converted terribly, terribly. They were great for getting people on my email list, but they were
Yeah.
terrible at actually converting people into clients. So now that my business is really different, I get clients so much more easily. I have a different process for that. I'm like, how did I get any clients? If I'm being totally honest, it felt really hard. It felt really, really hard
Yeah.
to get clients. But even though it
Yeah.
felt really hard, especially compared to what it feels like now, I was still able to get enough clients. I think every year my business still generated just over six figures. So
Yeah.
like I was doing okay, but it was a
Yeah.
lot of work. Then
Yeah.
in 2023, I invested in hiring a firm for SEO that is run by my dear friend and collaborator, Christy Plantinga. And that was such a huge shift. It wasn't an immediate change in like my ability to acquire new clients, but certainly like about a year out from that and 2 years out from that, it's really changed the game for me. Same with the podcast. It wasn't this immediate thing where like 2 episodes later people are like, "Oh my god, I love you. Like I want to hire you." But a year, 2 years later, those 2 things combined with an email list and a really popular freebie have made a huge difference in terms of the additional work I have to do to get clients. So, it was like in order to get clients before, I had to do a lot of like one-on-one reach outs and tons of sales calls and just like a lot of hand holding through the process.
Mhm.
Now it's almost like flipped where I did those big investments into SEO and into the podcast and into an email list. And now actually having new people hire me is a much smaller lift compared to what it was before.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say that's magic, but then the way that you described it is like it's not magic. It's
Strategy.
thinking. It's strategy. It's thinking
Mhm.
clearly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It feels like
Mhm.
magic now, especially compared to what
Mhm.
it was like before, because
Mhm.
all of these things that I've been doing for years are so much easier. But it's also important to say that I'm not doing any of it on my own. Like,
Mhm.
it's really, really important that folks hear that, like, none of this is just entirely through my own effort. Like I said,
Yeah.
I hired I hired a marketing firm to help me with SEO. I have a
Yeah.
podcast producer. There's no way my weekly podcast would go out if it were not for her because I wouldn't be accountable. So the fact that I
Mm.
pay this woman money and if I don't have my episode to her on time, she's like, "Felicia, where's your episode?" means that my episode comes out every week, right?
Yeah.
I have an assistant now because my inbox is so much more full, thank you, than it ever was before. But it means like, oh my God, there are so many emails. I have an
Mhm.
assistant, I have an accountant, I hire lawyers to help me make contracts. Like, none
Nice.
of
Yeah.
this is done. I have coaches. I'm a part of like, I've pretty
Yeah.
much always had my own coach or been in a coaching program since I started this business or before I even started this business. So
Yeah.
none of this is done through my own effort solely.
Mhm. Yeah, you've invested
And
a lot. Like, you have
I've
to spend money
so
to make money.
much, so
Yeah.
much.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Shifting from doing everything yourself, which I would say is where I'm at, or Chelsea and I are like we do everything ourselves, right? And having a team, like what did that feel like? And was that like a therapeutic process for you?
That's a really good question. So I would say my first person I ever hired was a business coach, and that was before I ever had the idea to do this business. And that was
Mm.
very natural because it was like someone I was I was in this business planning course in San Francisco at a nonprofit, and it was so cool. It was so sweet. It was like this little like maybe 3-month long incubator for entrepreneurs in San Francisco. And it was service businesses and product businesses. And we all met, we wrote our business plans together, and we had all these amazing teachers. And it was just so sweet. But I had to like interview somebody who's doing something similar. And at that time, I was wanting to do wellness workshops for corporations in San Francisco because I was
Oh.
looking for other ways to make money outside of being a therapist. And one of my best friends from my hometown hooked me up with her college roommate who wasn't exactly doing what I wanted to do, but she was like, "You remind me a lot of her, and she's got her own business and da 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 da." That person ended up becoming my business coach. And so that
Oh.
was the first person I hired
Mhm,
in my work. And again, at the time, I wasn't even working on the business I have now. I didn't have the bad therapist business.
mhm,
Next person I hired was an accountant for my therapy practice. And then I started hiring assistants, and I've worked with several people over the years. But yeah,
mhm,
how does it feel to go from doing it all on my own to having a team? I mean, it's been a pretty slow build. And apart from having, yeah, I would say like the people who've been with me the longest are my accountant, my podcast producer, my assistant is getting close to a year,
mm,
but it feels necessary. I think the next stage for me will be when I have like multiple full-time employees. So you'll have to ask
mhm,
me then what that's
Yeah.
like. But yeah, one of the things that's been really, I don't know, it's funny because I just encountered this recently. I find it's much easier for me to like hire coaches and invest in coaching programs that are like pretty high ticket than it is for me to hire done for you people. So I've recently hired somebody to help me completely rewrite the copy for my website and my
mhm,
email lists and like redo basically the main funnel of my business. And even though I've spent way more money on coaching over the years, I felt so nervous spending the money on this. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. Like,
mhm.
why does this feel so different? But I did it anyway. And I just got some copy back and it's fucking awesome. And I'm so glad I did it. But it was like weeks of me like trying, like standing at the edge, trying to say yes,
Yeah.
having a hard time saying yes.
Mm,
That makes so much sense to me.
Really? Tell me
Mhm.
why. You've got the
Like,
chart. Or maybe it's just from us
or
talking.
it's from like in my body, I'm feeling like, yeah, like I don't want to hand over the copy of my website, even though I
Yeah.
know people will do it better. Or at least I won't,
mhm,
it takes so much less energy for someone else to do it than for me to do it myself because
That.
I'm not in the first house, which is astrology garden, jargon.
Mhm.
But that's why I'm responding is like, yeah, it makes so much sense to me that that would be the next step or like a little bit of
Yeah.
hesitation.
mhm.
For you, we could talk about your chart if you want, but
Do it.
yeah, I mean, we talked before we hit record that your sun is placed in the most private part of your chart. So then like your identity, if we're talking about the sun is like what motivates us, what our soul wants the content of our life to feel like and our identity. That being in such a private place makes sense for like not wanting to hand over such like a precious part of
Mhm,
your
Mhm.
life and your business and how you present yourself in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there's something about signing up for coaching programs where I'm like, well, it still really relies on me. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's not like a product they're giving
yeah,
me. It's
totally.
like
Mhm,
I'm a participant and what I get out of this is really up to me. And so like if I don't get
mhm,
that much out of it, it's ultimately on me versus like
mhm,
there's like a deliverable at the end of it, and I'm either going to like it or not like it or think it's good or think it's not good. And
mhm,
so that feels super vulnerable because I'm like, I'm not, obviously I have some influence on that, but I don't know. I think it's like there's something so tangible about it. And that kind of wigs
Yeah.
me out because it feels like there's more on the line. Yeah.
mm,
But you
mhm.
saying that my son is in the most private part of my chart. So that's really interesting because I also know that Jupiter is
Mhm.
it in the career part of
It's
my
in the most
chart? Oh,
public spot. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. And so like that is really interesting to hear about the sun being in the private part of my chart and then like career has Jupiter in it, which is like I think like very auspicious and like a favorable placing, right?
Yeah.
For Jupiter.
Yes. In
So
Pisces,
I
by the way.
in
So that's like
Pisces, which is
an
also
extra
great.
layer. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you mean when you say like my sun is in the most private part of my chart? I don't know what that means.
So have you seen your chart inner circle like
Yes.
configuration before? Okay. So in the circle configuration, whatever is at the bottom part of that circle is what is not as visible because that cross line is the
It's
horizon
below the
line.
horizon. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So that's like a really basic way to say that anything below that line is private, but it is literally at the
It's at
most
the
like
very bottom.
bottom point.
And there's a
It's
lot in that part of my chart though, isn't there? There's like a lot
yeah,
happening.
yeah, your chart
So,
ruler is there as well.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So one thing that has been like interesting feedback to get recently, I had a friend who was like, it's so funny. I ask you about yourself, and then like you very quickly change the topic. And I was like, huh, that's really interesting because I perceive myself as someone who can talk about myself for a really long time. But I think I actually like to tell stories. I like to entertain,
Mhm.
you know?
Mercury.
And yeah, yeah, and
That
maybe
makes a lot
Gemini
of sense.
rising. Gemini rising
Gemini
is
rising,
bubbly, like
definitely that. But when the chart ruler is in the most private part of the chart with the sun right there, it's like, yeah, you could talk about yourself to yourself. Like you have
mhm,
so much going on
a
with
lot of
language.
insight. Yeah.
And yeah, with insight, like you look like a great therapist because you have such
Hmm.
a like a strong insight placement. But then your comment about like maybe you don't share about yourself externally as much as you do to yourself, or
Yeah.
in like mama and papa, grandma kind of situations where like you can trust the people around you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But it's everything like there's so much else going on in your chart as well that would point to like you being an entertainer and you sharing a lot, telling stories. Yeah, Gemini rising is
Yeah.
definitely the strongest part of that.
Yeah. Well, that makes me think of a couple things that really align with that, which is the first, when you're a little kid, you're like, when I grow up, I want to be the first thing ever remember wanting to be when I grew up was a stand-up comic.
Nice. Yeah.
And then I was a puppeteer in my church when I was a kid, which is
Wow.
kind of funny because you're performing, but you are literally like behind a curtain while the puppet's doing its thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And then I also used to perform stories in San Francisco on a
Cool.
stage, and that was
Really?
so fun. Yeah, yeah. It's like a very random thing. I can tell you about it later. But yeah, if you
Oh,
actually if you Google Felicia Lee on
yeah.
YouTube, if you go to YouTube and you type in like Felicia Lee Leigh, you will find at least one video of me from
Wow.
years ago performing a story
Very
about
cool.
Hedwig and the Angry
Good.
Inch. Yeah.
Oh, I
Beautiful.
love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
you
there's
sorry, I just wanna, like,
I feel
interrupt.
like
Go ahead.
especially I mean, especially as therapists, don't you think we're, like, so conditioned, not all of us, because there's definitely oversharers probably, but we're so conditioned to, like, not talk about ourselves, right? Like, I think we become
Right.
really skilled, and I can totally relate to that as well, like, people have probably given me that feedback too, like, I am skilled in, like, knowing what to share and what not to share, even when it comes to me and myself, and
Yeah.
and knowing who I wanna share with, and so it's like, I feel like we're so skilled at, like, always turning it back to the other person, right? Like,
Right. It's
ask me a
like, what
question
makes
about
you
me, and I'm
ask
like,
that?
"Yeah, totally."
What makes you
Right?
curious about that? I mean, that's the thing that's been so disorienting about this feedback is because, like, I actually wouldn't describe myself as that way. Like, I do
Mhm.
think I don't think I'm like, I share really appropriately. I do think
Yeah.
I am a bit of an overshare. I know I also used to have like a bit of a like shock and awe way of talking with people
Ooh. Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
thought was vulnerable, but was really more like, here's a laundry list of bad things that have happened, but me
Yeah.
saying it in a very neutral way that's like actually very unsettling for the other person.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't do that anymore. But I thought I was being vulnerable, but what I was really being was more just like, I don't know how to relate to you. I don't know how to hang out. So we're either talking about like really
Yeah.
heavy stuff coming from your end, or talking about really heavy stuff coming from my end because like
Yeah.
I
Totally.
literally do not know how to nor give a shit about small talk. So like we're just gonna I'll either be completely silent. These are my modes. Completely silent, making jokes and entertaining, or like we're having the deepest conversation any two humans
Yeah.
have ever had.
Yeah.
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 I'm starting to expand my range these days, but like generally those were my options.
You're kinda no nonsense like that, and I
I
think that's,
am
like one of the things that makes you such a good business coach and therapist too. But I wonder, like, does it also feel like there's a little bit, and I'm asking this because I know a part of me also feels like a performer and it's like there's a little bit of vulnerability in that, like a puppeteer,
Right.
right? Like you get to show a little bit of something. Like there's all like a little bit of exhibitionism too, like because
Oh,
of that shock
for
and awe.
sure.
Like, I
Yeah.
can, like, let it all hang out, but I'm, like, hiding
Yeah.
too, and so it's like you
Yes.
get to like, I wanna be seen, but, like, what I want to be seen is, like, kind of risque,
I
and there's, like, a little bit
completely
of
agree.
satisfaction in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it makes me think about, like, even how I'm dressed today, right? Like, this is not, like, subtle
Slytherin.
clothing.
Yeah.
I've got, like,
Yeah.
Slither so I'm wearing, like, bright red lipstick and this, like, neon green I don't even know how to describe it, turtleneck, like, whatever. It's very, like, blam, like, clothing, and, like, I used to, like, dye my hair green and purple, and I chopped it off, like, super, super short a couple of
Yeah.
times, and, like, I kinda dressed like a punk at, like, a conservative school, so there are
Yeah.
all these ways that, like, despite when I was younger, I was very shy and had a hard time, like, in groups of people, but I was totally okay, like, looking weird
Yeah.
and I also was really good at leading. So whenever there was like a situation that I thought not even necessarily explicitly called for, but I thought needed a leader, I was very comfortable stepping up into that role and taking charge.
Yeah.
I was like performing in various ways from a young age or like speaking in front of large audiences or so there I totally hear what you're saying Chelsea around like there's something about like the performance quality that it's like
Mhm.
I'm not actually relating to you. I'm
Mhm.
just here being viewed for
Yeah.
like potentially your entertainment or your
Mhm.
education or something, but like I'm also still kind of untouchable in this way. So I
Yeah.
do think there's a lot
Yeah.
of like, I like that. It helps like mediate the connection and like the sense of vulnerability that it's like we're actually separated while we're connected in this other way.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
That okay, now I'm like, how does that feel to show up on your podcast and online and social media with
Yeah.
this kind of dynamic or concept?
Well, I think it actually works in a lot of ways because like I mean, of course there are people in my life who I try to be like super vulnerable with and I do try to be transparent and vulnerable to an extent. Like I want to represent myself accurately. I want people to have a sense of
Yeah.
like who they're going to be working with in the ways that I like publicly like present myself in the world on my podcast and working with my clients and teaching and coaching, there is still this somewhat performative role. You know,
Yeah.
when I'm talking on my podcast, I'm imagining talking to an audience. I'm imagining talking to somebody else and like teaching or sharing something for their benefit when I'm teaching in liberated business and coaching in liberated business, I'm doing that in front of a group. So I'm like attempting to hold all of these different people that are in that group and show up in a way that's going to be beneficial for them. If I'm doing one
Mhm.
on one coaching with somebody, uh, then it might shift a little bit because it can be more bespoke. But there is still the sense of like, I have a responsibility and a role here to you. We're not just two friends hanging out. But it makes me think that like we are always in certain roles in relationships,
Yeah.
right? Like we have a
Mhm.
particular relationship in this moment where you've invited me on as a guest on your podcast and Chelsea and I also know each other. And it's like, so
Mhm.
there is a way that I'm showing up here right now that is like geared towards fulfilling how I think I need to be in that role. And to me,
Mhm.
it's like that's what we're always doing in like every single interaction. But I do think that in like, the coming years, like one thing that feels like it's on the horizon for me personally is just like, how do I actually get more vulnerable?
Yeah.
Now, is that going to change how I coach or how I'm on my podcast? I don't know. Will it change how I show up in my relationships and my personal life? I sure hope so. Like that's actually the main
Yeah.
goal. I feel like pretty good
Yeah.
about how I show up as a coach and how I
Yeah.
show up on my podcast and how I show up in my marketing. And I do get feedback that what you hear on the podcast is what you get when you talk to me. So that's really good. If that weren't true, then I'd say there's a problem that needs to change. But really where I'm wanting to learn to be more vulnerable is like in my personal life.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is a super vulnerable person that's like, actually, I'm working on getting less vulnerable?
This endless pit of vulnerability. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, why Capricorn and Mars coming up for you, I guess, Chelsea?
I guess I'm just curious if that how that shows up
In the world? Okay.
in the world or yeah, and
Now I
maybe
am too.
Okay. So,
So Mars, can I take a guess?
mhm.
yes.
Not really knowing about astrology. So Mars,
Fuck yeah.
the god of war, so aggression, conflict, right? Capricorn,
Mhm.
grounded, stubborn, hardworking,
Yeah.
maybe, no,
Yeah.
I don't know. So
Hardworking.
that's my guess. What is going on? Tell me about
Yeah.
myself.
You have Mars in Capricorn in the house of vulnerability. And I was just
Uh,
like,
uh,
Chelsea, is that
oh,
what you
really?
want me to talk about? The eighth
Wait,
house?
which house? Wait, that's vulnerable house is 8th house?
I mean, every house has vulnerability to it, but that is
Yeah.
the house where I would look to first if someone was talking about vulnerability.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
having Mars there, Mars is the planet that cuts in all the meanings of that word. So, like,
Hmm.
cuts things apart, cuts to the bone.
Mm,
There's nothing is being glued when there's a Mars situation, or it's
uh,
very difficult to bring things together.
yeah.
But we need Mars energy to connect because we need to know that we are separate from who we're connecting with. So I think it's very
Mm,
cool to have Mars in the eighth house of where we share energy because
mm,
there's a clear understanding, kind of what you're talking about. We're always in a role. We're always like performing a part of a play, right?
mm,
So that's what's interesting to me about this conversation.
mm.
In general, though, like Mars absolutely loves to be in Capricorn. And there's a lot of like
Really?
discussion around that. But Mars loves to have something to go and do. And Capricorn is that kind of energy of like work to be done. So like
This is
Mars is like,
making so
Yeah.
much sense that it's like, okay,
yeah,
if I'm going to be
Right?
vulnerable, I'm going to be vulnerable professionally to help people because that is
yeah,
literally
Yeah.
a job. Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be
Yeah.
professional at vulnerability.
yeah.
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 Hmm.
There's always water to be drawn. There's always bricks to be laid for the greater good. There's always the cathedral that's being built over generations. Like it's that kind of energy applied to your house of intimacy. It's also a house of like sharing
Mm,
finances and
mm,
other people's
mm.
resources that you have access to in some way or another, which I would
Yeah.
argue is being a therapist because
Yeah.
you are being let into someone else's like private life and you're
Yeah.
being there, you're being in a support role. So that makes a lot of sense to me. But I love
Yeah.
that Chelsea brought up Mars. Like, ooh, why are you bringing up Mars all of a sudden?
It was
Yeah.
intuitive. Wow, look
Yeah,
at that. Well,
yeah.
and
See,
plus like Saturn as the ruler, like that also makes it a much more of a long-term project, right? Like
yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of like vulnerability or the practice of vulnerability,
Like you were
right?
saying, it's like it's something to like slowly build toward. It's like like it takes a long time to get good at something.
Yeah.
Like sharing resources and intimacy. I think that's a
Hmm.
Yeah.
human statement, but for your chart, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Are there any parts of your chart, Felicia, that you like that you are really aware of that you
Hmm.
know like that yeah, this feels like so me or like that has been really like either you've been interested in lately or the more you know about it, the more you're like, yeah, like that's cool.
Yeah, so a couple of answers to that question. So one of the first things I learned about my chart, like apart from like you're a Virgo, is
Mhm.
I remember talking to this guy one time and being like, I have these friends who just have really consistent styles and they kind of like dress in a similar way for the most part. I've never in my entire life been like that. I will swing wildly from genre to genre across a week, and I love it. Like, I love
Yeah.
clothes. I love playing with clothes. I love, like, going into yeah, really going into different looks, and this person
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, that's your Gemini rising. You're, like, kinda
Uh-huh.
all over the place. Like, how you present to the world is all these different ways." And I was like, "Cool." So that was, that was, like, an interesting thing to learn, and I was like, I've always wondered about this with myself. I'm like, "Why don't I have a look?" I'm not, like, upset that I don't have a look, but I'm like, "Why don't I
Yeah.
have one?" Seems like most people have a look, but I don't really have a look. What's going on there? Um,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. Like maybe for your marketing too, to bring it back to business. Like I remember you staged a little photo shoot, or you invited friends to a photo
Yeah.
shoot, like a pizza party, and it
Yes.
was so fun because like we all got to hang out in the park, and then you used it as like a part of your marketing and your website, and like just to have photos
Yeah.
and but yeah, I've seen kind of like the changes too of like within your marketing of like putting your different like photos out there and what the vibe
Mhm.
is of each of them. Like one, I think you used like your motorcycle for a couple and
Yeah.
you had this like bad bitch like leather like
Yeah,
whole
that's going
vibe
on the
going
new
on.
podcast, like, cover
Yeah.
art is gonna have not my
Ooh.
motorcycle, but that persona will be in it. Yeah.
Hell yeah. But I think that's
Yeah.
really fun too to have
Mhm.
like all these different like I don't know, like my one of my best friends is a Gemini sun and we like have always joked about her phases. Like that was my hip hop phase. That was my like soft dancer phase. Like and I think that's
Mm.
so cool about Geminis. Like who wants to stay static and be like this is what I always wear and like now I'm always wearing jeans and a top and like I'm a t-shirt and jeans gal. Like boring.
Yeah. Well,
Reinventing yourself weekly is so fun.
it is so fun, and you know what's really interesting is, like, I'm not a phases person, I never have been. My little
Yeah?
sister is a phases person.
Oh, yeah.
I am like, there's never been a phase. It's always just,
Mhm.
like, everything all at once. There's not a distinction between, like, we do this for a while and then we do this for a while. It's like, no, we do all of the
Interesting.
things all, like, in very quick succession.
Cool.
And I know this again because my sister has been such a phase person, like, especially as a child. Like, she had, like, eras as a child, that
Yeah,
were super, super distinct. It's like whatever she was
yeah,
into, it was like that was what she watched, that was what she listened to, was how she dressed, it was who she hung out with. It was like her whole persona was that thing for a
yeah.
while, and then it would switch and it would be a completely different thing. Whereas
Mhm.
I was like, today I want to look like this, today I want to look like that, today. But like my personality was actually relatively stable and it didn't necessarily dictate like what I listened to or who I hung out with. I pretty much
Yeah.
have been very stable in that way throughout my life. And that's
I
Mm.
fascinating.
I don't wanna be like, I don't think that's true about another
Oh,
person's
please.
interpretation. I do think it's true that Gemini risings in general are more, like, flexible or malleable about their appearance. But usually my first thought of a Gemini rising is that they have a levity to their face or just demeanor, like, they're adaptable, they can take a situation as it comes. Gemini's just, like it's hard to describe because it's mercurial energy, but it's, like, they're
Yeah.
just really interesting to look at.
Oh,
Mm.
So that's
yeah.
usually what I say about Gemini rising in general.
So, the other thing that I've learned recently, and I'm absolutely going to butcher this because I do not know like all of the things that are happening in the sky. I just know like what it means to me and how it impacts my life. But big shout out to my astrologer, Wild Witch of the West.
Mhm.
Rebecca, she's wonderful. She's another Bay Area astrologer. I met with her back in fall of 2024, and I was having a really, really hard time. I was feeling really unmotivated. Business felt like a slog. I was experiencing a lot of malaise, not feeling passionate, which is really unusual for me. I tend to be a really passionate, driven person. I didn't feel like I had big goals. I was still like showing up and doing my work and showing up for my commitments, and I wasn't at a point where I was like ready to call it quits, but it was hard. It was a really, really
Mhm.
hard time. My brother died suddenly at the end of 2022. Um, my business, like I said about that market correction that happened
Yeah.
2023, 2024, well, I felt that too, right? My clients were impacted by that, so I was impacted by that. So that was a really hard year for me on a whole lot of levels. And then that just continued. So by the time I met with my astrologer at the end of 2024, I was like, girl, I am struggling.
What's
And
going
she's like,
on?
well,
Yeah.
when did this start? And I told her, I was like, it felt like it really started to get rocky March of 2023. And she's like, well, funnily enough, that's when this particular progression started in your chart. But good news is it's ending soon. You don't have that long left. It's going to end April 2025. And I was like, thank
Mm.
fucking God, because I'm losing my goddamn mind. And she's like, had you come to me at the beginning of this progression, I would have told you to go get a job working for somebody else. This is not the energy of like being a self starter,
Really?
self motivated, running your own
Wow.
business. And I'm like, well, that's hilarious because I did the opposite of that. That is when I started my podcast. That's when I invested in SEO and got way more visible. So she's like, yeah, you've basically been like fighting the energy of this progression the entire time. So after I heard
Wow.
that, it was like such a huge relief and so comforting because I was really not feeling like myself.
Wow.
And with feeling a lot of like grief and sadness and fear and all these different things. And so when she told
Yeah.
me that, I was like, "Oh, thank God." And she's like, "It's not going to stay this way. Like
Mhm.
you're almost done." And I was working with a coach at the time, and it took me a while, but eventually I was like, "Hey, could we like pause? Could I like this is really not the time for me to be trying to grow."
Yeah.
And then like something weird started to happen. Like almost as soon as I made that decision, suddenly my business started exploding. And I was
Mm.
like, what? And the next round of Liberated Business was the biggest I had ever had.
Wow.
I had, for the first time, had to really decide what the limit was going to be because it had been
Yeah.
so unnecessary before to consider what the limit was going to be. But I had to
Wow.
figure that out. And not only that, but I was able to fill a second cohort that same year. So
Nice.
What?
things really like 2025,
Yeah.
April 2025, things like phew, rocket ship.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I also planned this retreat with my friend Marimar where I had been wanting to do this like creative writers retreat thing with friends and I just like hadn't really gotten around to organizing it, but I mentioned to her and she was really interested. And so we were like, we were at dinner together and we're like, let's pick the next weekend that we're both free and just do it. We happened to plan it for the weekend that this astrological moment was shifting into another stage, like over the course of that weekend. And after
Wow.
that weekend, like that's when things really, really changed in a huge way.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
now the transition that I'm in is my astrologers, like we've nicknamed it like the rocket ship. And I was like, okay, well, what comes after this? I'm thinking like a checkerboard, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, which of course it's not like that phase I was in was bad. It was just like a particular flavor. And I was really fighting it like the entire
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
instead of leaning into it, which is what made it so hard and painful.
Totally. Mm.
But I was like, what's the next phase? Probably something bad and hard, right? But she's like, no, it's actually going to be fucking awesome. Like, this is really also auspicious. And I'm like, wonderful. Because I don't think I could do another like 2.5 years bad, 2.5 years good, 2.5 years bad. Like, I need more breathing room. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
That's
that was like
that's an
one of the more
example of like
powerful things I've learned that was so helpful.
I love astrology.
amazing. It's this is why like every business owner should have a staff astrologer because of that reason right
I love
there.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like both glad and not glad that I didn't meet with her sooner about this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right. Hmm.
And I'm sure she was maybe being a bit hyperbolic, saying, like, well, I would have told you to, like, go get a job working for somebody else. Like, I think if we had met during that time, we would have had more of a conversation about it. That was like a very
Yeah.
easy thing to say, kind of like after the fact.
Hmm.
But,
Hmm.
during
Totally.
that time, I did make these big investments in my business and start these projects that now, years later, like we said earlier, are having such a massive impact on
Totally. Hmm.
Yeah.
on my business. So like I am really that was hard, but I'm still really glad I did it.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. You
glad
had
I
to go
know what
through
was
it.
happening. Yeah, exactly. I had to go through it. Is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious if there's like because I know we don't have too much time left, but I'm curious if there's like a word or I mean maybe for a Gemini rising there's multiple words so it's not just one but is there like an anchor or something that you always come back to or even a theme or like something that yeah like you always kind of come back to that is your maybe mantra for your business or like when you're in those kind of murky kind of lost moments or when you're feeling burned out or like a little disconnected from the work and it's like hard to get business is feeling like a slug or whatever it is there something that you kind of regroup around that because I feel like you would probably tell your clients this too or like having some kind of anchor or something that you're kind of forming your business around like I know some coaches are really all about pleasure and like always coming back to that as their anchor for their business or how they want to be a business owner. But yeah, what would you say is Felicia's anchor for a business
Hmm.
for your business or being a business owner?
Well, mine is very practical and it's just like do you want to go get a job working for somebody else? Because like
Yeah.
that's the alternative. You know, do you want
Yeah.
to do this? Do whatever the problem is that's happening in the business, whatever challenge I'm facing. It's like, do you want to figure this out? Or do you want to go get a job working for somebody else and have the problems that come with that? You know, because
Mhm.
I worked for in all sorts of jobs. I've been working since I was 16. Like I think from my first job when I was 16 till now, I've like only ever been unemployed for maybe like, was it 3 months? No, it was like 6 months. Right before moving to San Francisco, I traveled
Wow.
in Europe and Asia for 6 months, and I spent all the money I had, and then I moved to San Francisco with no money. And yeah, so I've just always had a job. Some of them have been better than others, and I just don't know that at the age of 39, I have it in me to ask another adult if I could take time off and then have them say no. Like, that just sounds preposterous. And so
Oh my god, right? Yeah.
like, that seems wild. I'm like, "You're not my mom." Like, I don't think you get
Yeah.
to tell me that. But they do,
Yeah.
and that's fine because that's part of the trade-off, you know, that is part of the
Mhm.
trade-off of, like, having your own business versus working for somebody else. Like, there's so much
Mhm.
responsibility. You feel everything. I'm trying to think of a metaphor here, but I'm struggling, but it's like you're driving in a car with no shocks. You know, you're just, like, feeling
Mhm.
every fucking bump in the road, but, like, when you're employed,
Mhm.
oftentimes as shitty as that job might be, you're also kind of insulated from some things. Like you're
Mhm.
not feeling what the owners are feeling. You're not feeling what other people are feeling. You're feeling other
Yeah.
things and that might not feel good and that's totally legit,
Yeah.
but like you're insulated from some of it. And so it's really a
Totally.
choose your hard.
Mhm.
So I'm like, do I want this
Totally.
hard or do I want that hard? Cuz either way there's a
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
And there are trade-offs with every decision that I'm making. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
come back to in those years where it was really hard and I did actually consider, I'm like, should I go get a job working for somebody else? But I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, I hope a future employer, if I need to get a job, is not listening to this. But like, I'm a little bit like, I don't even know. What would I do at this point? I haven't had a boss in like,
Same. Yeah.
it's been a very long time.
Dude, yeah. I mean, you have to be a little bit of a sadist, right? To like
Yeah.
take the shocks and take all of the like the bumps along the road to be like, oh, like that kind of hurt, but okay, I'll take it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to work for somebody else. Like the alternative is not an option. And
Yeah.
I mean, I can relate to that too. I don't want to be told what to do. Like, I don't want someone else telling me what to do or how to practice or how to run a business or yeah, when I can take vacation, and I can see just from knowing you, like, you definitely don't want that energy. Like, you're not gonna listen to someone else telling you what to do.
No,
Unless it's, like,
so
somebody you're
I
hiring and
love
they're giving you advice, and, like, you're
right.
gonna
It's
take
like
that.
I
But, like yeah.
love rules, but I also really love breaking rules. Like
Yeah. I can see
I
that.
used to skip class like so much in high school, especially my senior year because I was 18 and you can't make an 18-year-old go to school. So I would just leave all the time, but I was leaving to go study for my harder classes. So I took like really, really hard classes and then I took some not hard classes. And so I would go study for my hard classes during my not hard classes. So I wasn't like skipping school and like doing drugs or partying. I was
That
just
feels
like
so Virgo to me.
studying. Yeah. So I would just like skip school, walk out the gates all the time and
Mhm.
because I'm like, that's a rule I'm going to break. So, like, I love
Yeah.
breaking rules. I love sneaking into places. I
Ooh,
really love
yeah.
to be sneaky and go into places where I'm not supposed to be. Lock your doors. So, like, I love, as much as I love following certain rules, I also really
Yeah.
love to break certain rules. And so,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know
Mhm.
where that came from. I was talking about that. Something about bosses. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, someone telling me what to do, it's like, go back
Yeah.
to class. You can't tell me to go back to class. I'm an
Yeah.
adult. Like I'm
Yeah.
leaving for a good
Yeah.
reason. I have AP Bio.
Yeah.
That's fucking hard. I'm leaving this school so I can go study for AP Bio. I don't care if you don't understand or that doesn't make sense to you. I know what I'm doing. Back off, you know? So I have a
I think
lot
in
of that
general,
like
like we have Virgos who are probably really good at making the rules, but if anyone's gonna break the rules, I think we should only allow Virgos to break the rules, right? And maybe Capricorns too, but
I
like
would sign off on that.
because they're the most like responsible people to be breaking the rules because they just know they're
We've
gonna
thought about the
like
consequences. Like,
yeah,
I'm
and they're
breaking
making
this rule for a
responsible
good reason.
choices and they're probably
Yeah.
gonna yeah do
Thank
something
you.
really
Thank you
wise
for
with the
seeing
rule that they
us,
break.
Chelsea. Yeah.
before we wrap up, I also just want to hear like what's up next. Like, what are your kind of dreams and goals for right now? Maybe for business, or like, what do you want to see happen? Because I want you to speak that into existence. Because I
Oh,
am
thank
so
you,
supportive
Chelsea.
of everyone getting what they want and achieving what they want. So, like, what's up next for you, and what are you excited about in
Oh,
terms of business and maybe anything else too?
yeah. So, my God, I feel like this is such a great opportunity and I'm like not wanting to squander it. I can feel like my own perfectionism showing up of like, wait, no, now I want to say like a really, really good thing. But let me
Yeah,
just
yeah,
trust whatever comes up. The first
yeah.
thing that comes up is like I would really like to be able to ride my motorcycle around Southeast Asia for like 3 months without a plan and just hang out. Like, I would like to have the
Ooh,
business be in a place where everything is running smoothly, where money can be coming in, where either, programs are paused, coaching is paused, and like that's all good. Or what would be really cool, I suppose, is to have a business that can actually do more without me. Because right now it's still very, very reliant on me. I am the only coach in my business who's doing coaching. In my
right.
program, I have guest experts come in, but that's not exactly the same as having somebody who's like in the program with my clients providing coaching.
Mhm.
So that's definitely a gap and probably going to be one of the hardest things for me
Yeah.
to begin to share with other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I like that goal because it's really tangible. Like, it means I'll need to have the money, it means I'll need to have the systems, it means I'll need to have the support, it means I'll need to have the mindset in order to do something like that. So, yeah, that would be a
Yeah.
lot of
Do
fun.
you do you still have a lot of one-on-one, or you have to be live with the group? Like there's just a lot of, yeah, that kind
There
of
is
like live
still a lot
interaction.
of that, and it's interesting over the years, it's shifted, from, like, how much one-on-one work I'm doing versus how much group
Yes.
work I'm doing. Like I mentioned, in 2025, things really began to shift,
Yeah.
with my program. It actually started in 2024 with, like, this person named Haley who came in and wanted to work with me, and
Mm.
Haley, if you're listening, I love you. Thank you so much. She really changed the trajectory just by coming in and being like someone who's ready, excited, read all the
Mhm.
copy, knew what they were
Yeah.
getting into and was ready to start. But with things
Yeah.
shifting and having more people in liberated business, it really means that I don't have to have as many one-on-one clients, which was
Yeah.
initially my goal. Like, when I was thinking about my this business back in 2020, I was initially thinking of a group program that had maybe 30 to 40 people, and I'm not there yet. And maybe I'd have like 3 one-on-one clients.
Yeah.
But it's been like really flipped. I haven't had 40 one-on-one clients, but I've had many more one-on-one clients than people in the program. And now it's
Oh.
actually flipped. And so I still
Mm.
have one-on-one clients. We meet 3 times a month, and then in my program we have 3 live calls a month.
Nice.
And I'm there for all of them.
Yeah.
And so it might change in the future. Obviously, would have to change if I'm going to do this whole motorcycling thing, or the program would have to not be running while I'm doing that. So we'll see what that needs to look like. But yeah,
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, I really hope that you get the motorcycle trip. That's amazing, and I could really see you just, like, thriving in that, and how cool it would be to just know that, like, the business is running itself and you don't have to show up for as much. I think that's something that, yeah, KP and I also talk about quite a bit, like, how we love one-on-one work, obviously, but to have your whole business, like, relying on that and not these kind of other ways of it running itself, or, like, yeah, just being able to be a little bit more passive and not having to be just like, "Okay, it's just one-on-ones and that's it." Like, it's a lot,
It's a lot.
and it's
And
so
it
yeah, I
takes
feel
a
like it's
toll over the years,
totally, totally. Mhm.
I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for the level of freedom I have in this business and the ability that I have to travel. So, like, at the end of this
Mm.
month, I'm going to the UK and I'm going to be on a narrowboat for a week. And then I'm going to go to Scotland for a
Mm.
week. And then I'm going to pop
Yeah.
over to Spain before I leave Europe because my like hometown friend moved there and now just had a baby. And so her parents are getting to visit, but like I don't think any of our other friends are going to be able to go. And she's obviously not going to bring her newborn.
Yeah.
So, I wanna go see her, and I'm like, "Well, this is closer to get there
Yeah.
than if I were coming from the
See,
States." But it's like,
yeah.
I have built a business where I have a level of freedom that I never thought I could have as a therapist, and I remember remember being in grad school as a trainee in the clinic talking with a colleague, this guy, and we were both just like talking about how much we both love to travel. And the way we like to travel is to go to some place and just like stay there for long periods of time. And we were both just like, oh, I guess we never get to do that again. Like we just had this idea of like, I guess those days are over because like as therapists, we can't do that. And now, of course, I know that's not true. And
Mhm.
Chelsea, you travel a lot. This is something that's always so fun to see when I see your stuff online is like,
Yeah.
because you also had like a full-time job working for an
Mhm.
agency and now you've built this
Mhm.
practice where you get to travel a lot and like
Yeah,
I
totally.
love that, and I just wanna keep on moving in that direction where there's even more freedom because I think ultimately that's
Mhm.
a big, like, value or desire or goal of mine, like, I really
Mhm.
love freedom, I don't like people telling me what to do, I want to
Mhm.
design things to be however I want them to be, and I think when you run your own business, you get to create that, it's up to you to create it, if you want things to be a certain way, figure it out, like, there's no one to
Totally.
tell you it can't be that way, like, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy or there won't be sacrifices or trade-offs, but if you want a
Yeah.
thing, you can have it, just go do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Lots of caveats, obviously, it's not as simple as that, but
Obviously.
you get what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
I remember we were talking about, like, when I was working with you, I think you gave me the idea of, like, working 3 weeks in a row and taking the last week of every month off, and
Mhm.
I'm still thinking about that. I'm gonna implement it someday. I just haven't
Okay,
yet,
love.
but I think even my clients would be fine with that. We'll see, but I think that would be so cool.
Yeah. That's the thing is like we often assume that what we want is going to be such a problem for other people and
Mm,
under I would say pretty rare circumstances it is, and you get that worst case scenario as
mhm,
someone coming back and saying like how dare you? I can't believe you
mhm,
would do this like, all of the things we're terrified to hear from our clients. That does happen occasionally, but it happens far less than we anticipate. And
yeah,
a lot of times people are
mm,
like, "Cool." And you're like,
yeah,
"Wait a minute, hold on. So I've been wanting this for the past 3 years and I've been not doing it because I was afraid you'd be
yeah,
pissed and you're literally all
and
just
you're
okay with
fine.
it and even happy? What the fuck?" And you're like, "I did that. That was me. Like, I did that to me and I didn't have to." So, like, yeah, I mean, take the
Mhm.
risks.
Yeah, mic drop. Well, KP,
Like
any last thoughts? Anything? I mean, I'm feeling really inspired to hire someone to write my copy for my website and not do it
Great, I have a
myself. I've
referral.
been Okay, thank you. I've been sitting on it for, like, probably 7 weeks, so yeah.
Yeah. One of my
Thank
gifts
you.
is connecting people. I know all of the
Yeah,
best people, and it brings me
yeah,
such incredible joy to connect people with
totally.
with
Yeah,
like the things that they need and the people that they need. So I've got
yeah,
people.
yeah. You've got a great
Yeah.
business web, yeah. Do you wanna just tell everybody, like, how to find you?
Sure.
How they can connect with you, how they could work with you? Yeah, give us the details.
Great. So I have a podcast called The Bad Therapist Show, and you can listen to it anywhere you get your podcasts. Let's see, my website is abadtherapist.coach. That has all the information on it for how you can work with me whenever you happen to be looking at it. These days, I'm doing one on one business coaching. And like we've been talking about, I also have this program called Liberated Business, which is my group coaching program for therapists in private practice, solo practitioners, group practice owners, and also therapists who are wanting to scale into non therapy offers like retreats or workshops or courses, whatever. So
Mm,
it's everything that I wish I had when I was starting or trying to grow my practice and when I was trying to scale into other areas.
mhm.
And it's just such a great community. I'm constantly hearing from members just like how wonderful the community is. So like I just said, like I know the best people I have someone to connect you with. I truly believe that this program like
Right.
attracts the coolest people into it. So you always
Yeah,
have like
yeah,
business besties that you end up finding through it.
yeah, definitely. Cool.
Yeah, and maybe one other thing I can just quickly mention, sorry.
Yeah.
And if you want a resource, if you're a private practice therapist listening to this, one of my like top resources is the Magic Sheet. So this is a private practice fee calculator and design tool. People love it. It's called the Magic Sheets because someone who used it said it was magic. So it's a lot of fun. It makes money and numbers and policies more fun than you thought they could be.
Yeah. So cool. Amazing. Cool. Yeah, we'll put all
Yeah.
that information in the show notes. Thank you so much, Felicia. This was so fun. Thanks
Thank
for
you so
being
much for having
here.
me. This was a blast.
Yeah. Yay. Thank you for joining us for Parts and Charts, the IFS and Astrology podcast. If something sparked insight or resonated with you, we'd love to hear from you.
No, really, we're here to make friends. Reach out to us. Leave a comment, subscribe, and if you feel called, share this episode with someone you care about. Or, if you want to work with us one-on-one and go deeper with this work, check the link in the show notes for how to find us.
Until next time, may all of you feel a part of the family.